All right, I'd like to call a regular board meeting to order. If you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Hudson?
Here.
Trustee Maravka? Trustee Richards?
Here.
Trustee Sandberg?
Here.
Trustee Sluse?
Here.
Trustee Sturba?
Here. All right, any public comments? All right, move on to the consent agenda. We've got the minutes from our September 11th regular village board meeting. We've got our accounts payable and payroll. So payroll pay period ending 9/16/23 for a total of $59,837. The accounts payable for the pay period ending September 22nd, 2023. From the general fund, $34,835.61. From the capital improvement fund, $17,578.25. From the business development district, $25,809.54, and from the TIF 2 fund, $57,108, for a total of $135,331.40. And then we also have on the consent agenda approve the hiring of Diane Nielsen for part-time clerical support position in the administrative department. Are there any of those items any trustees would like to remove from the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by trustee Sluse, second by trustee Hudson.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
Trustee Sluse?
Yes.
Trustee Sturba?
Yes.
All right. On to our staff and committee reports. Troy, let's start off with you.
Hey everyone, MFT resurfacing project, the paving's been complete, they still need to do restoration, and they need to do punch list, and we're gonna go out and look at a couple spots where, make sure it was paved correctly, so to see if they have anything they have to fix. The sidewalk project, they started removals today, they're gonna keep going tomorrow, excavate for corning, weather dependent, they might be pouring concrete on Friday this week. And then on the Wilmington Road project, guardrails, I think, complete now. They, kind of a last minute change is they're gonna try to do those patches tomorrow morning on Wilmington Road. So just so you know, the traffic through there tomorrow, and depending on, there's probably gonna be 2 days, it's gonna be pretty hectic with flaggers, just because the patches are in the middle of the road. So then, once the patches are complete, they'll do the milling and the paving for the surface, or leveling minor surface over the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Questions for Troy? Perfect, thank you. Bob?
I think Troy did my report.
Okay.
Troy already gave you the info on MFT. There's some few spots we'll take a look at, and then restorations. They're doing the patching tomorrow, weather permitting. Leaf collection's coming up, so I have the dates in my report, October 23rd to December 1st, weather permitting as always. So,
And when does branch pickup go to?
October 23rd
Okay.
will be the last pickup. Staff's been busy doing crosswalk painting, day-to-day operations. Something new to our department is, we've never done in the past, is GIS mapping. We did a training on that. So the goal is to get everything we own, signs, streets, sidewalks, trees, into that mapping system for the future. So I'll get the guys going on that. I think everybody's on board, knowledgeable with it, so hopefully no issues with that. One thing I've noticed, obviously with the cooler weather, the grass is growing again. It's a problem when I stand up here, I think, every time I give a report, is the grass in the street. Please don't do that. It takes 2 minutes to blow it off the street. Guys have been going around the last 2 weeks. When we clean the basins, the majority of it's grass. If you keep them clean, there's no issues in a storm. That's all I ask is, don't blow the grass in the street. October, I'll be attending a couple trainings. One's with Amy down in Bloomington. And then I attend the mutual aid conference also down in Bloomington in October. So that's all I got.
What about, did AT&T ever get back to you about restoration down Garfield?
They did. They put in a rush order. It isn't too rushed.
Yeah, okay,
But there was a phone call made.
okay,
That's all I got.
good. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bob.
Well,
Move on to Amy, you have anything?
No, no, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Okay. Chief, I know you had gave a report to everybody here, any?
Yeah, it just, so I did that, I did like a 6-month review, and then, I got this, format from Amy. Tried to do a format similar to this, little different information. If you have anything that you'd like to see in it, just, give me a call, let me know. Try to provide some information in it. The main thing is that me and the sergeant have been working with the officers on the Safety Act changes. Try to avoid lawsuits, because I think there's people out there that are just trying to get arrested and not get bonded. So we're trying to make sure that all the officers are aware of that. And then if you look at some of the future projects, there's a couple things there that are gonna be there for further discussion, but otherwise, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think.
So is the little graph on the second page, is that like comparing year to date?
Yeah, that's January till September 25th of 2020, 21, 22, and 23.
Okay.
That's officer activity, and like I said, if they do, whether it's traffic details, walking details, business checks, stuff like that, it's calls that they open up for themselves, in the car, or self-initiated kind of activity.
Perfect. Thank you. Is Angie here? I didn't see, I don't think Angie's here. Nick, you had a Christmas Village Committee meeting?
Yeah, I wasn't able to make that 'cause I got stuck at work, but I know they talked about the parade route, food trucks and locations, and wasn't sure what else there was.
Just kind of touching base on the letters that have been sent out and when the follow-up will be. And that we did have to change the parade route this year.
Okay. Okay. Any other committees on this? We got everybody? All right, on to my comments. I want to thank the Historical Society. It put on a nice festival at the Old Mill a couple Sundays ago. Even though it rained a little bit, it was still a nice event. I want to thank the trustees and the staff that attended the Illinois Municipal League Conference this last week. A lot of good information, and it's always good to network with a lot of other people in similar positions. We all kind of have the same issues, and sometimes it's good to hear how other people deal with things. I put a little flyer in front of you. There's a business after hours on Thursday, October 5th at Bolt Field. I'm going to be out of town that day, but it's sponsored in part by the Peatone Chamber of Commerce. They had one out there last year. It was a nice event. It'd be nice if any of you guys can make it that evening. I think it would be good to have some representation. I think Chief is going to be out there. So, and I don't think it made it into our actual agenda, but in your packet, we did receive the Government Finance Officers of America Association, their budget award. So if some of you may recall, a few months ago we gave you the packet that we submitted to them, and we did receive the award, which for the first time submitting it is pretty good. And we got some good comments on it, how to improve it in the future. but I just wanted to acknowledge the work that our treasurer Anne Marie and Amy put into that work. And so and it's on our website too, right? The actual packet. Did that get on there?
No, but the actual budget that we submitted is
That's right,
there.
yeah, so the
Yes.
actual budget that we submitted.
Yes.
So if any residents are interested in looking at that, it is on our website, and it's an easy read. That's the whole point of this, is to make the budget something that, you know, somebody without a lot of financial background can look at and understand. So, again, I congratulate the finance department. We do not have any old business. New business. We're going to present certificate achievements for years of service to Gary Miller, Matt Moore, John Popek, and Dan Stankus. So we started this last month with the Public Works Department. We're going to start whenever anybody hits a 5-year, 5, 10, 15, whatever, in their month that they hit that service, we're going to try to recognize them at a board meeting. So these 4 officers are well over 5 years. They form the backbone of our police department, and so I'm going to ask them to come on up to present these certificates. So Sergeant Moore is at 25 years of service. John Popek has 23 years of service, Gary Miller 23, and Dan Stankus 16. So I congratulate all you guys, and thanks for your dedication to the residents of Peatone. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right. We got it? All right, thanks, guys.
Can I go over one more, Mayor?
What's that? Oh, all right. Okay, moving on, item E, presentation of the 2022-23 annual financial statements for the year ended March 2023. So this is an audit of our previous year's finances. So we got somebody from our auditing firm here to kind of present this to us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Courtney Moore. I'm one of the audit principals at Lauterbach & Lehman. I'm here to present the March 31st, 2023 audited financial statements. Before I get started, I did want to say a huge thank you to Amy and Anne Marie in the finance department. It does take a lot of extra work outside of their regular scope of job duties to not only prepare for the audit, but to essentially bring it to the bound copy that you see today. So thank you so much for all of your hard work. The purpose of an audit is for us to perform various tests and procedures on your financial statements to ultimately form an opinion. We did give the village an unmodified opinion. It is also known as a clean opinion. It is the highest opinion that we can give. It states that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects, and we can rely on the internal control environment of the organization. Additionally, in our required communication to those charged with governance, our SAS 114 letter, we note that we did not have any difficulties or disagreements with management throughout the process, so it was a very smooth audit process this year. At the front of your audit report that you have in front of you, so you have 2 bound copies in front of you. You have the audit report and then you have the management letter. The larger copy is the audit report. Right at the front is something called the management's discussion and analysis. Similar to what the president was mentioning about the Distinguished Budget Award, the MD&A is the easiest way to kind of read and digest the financial statements because it does present financial information in non-financial terms. So if there is any piece of the report you do want to read, I highly recommend taking a look at that. Just to touch on a few key financial highlights for the year. Overall, the village's net position did increase by about $685,000. This was about 5.5% from last year to this year. Government-wide revenues total about $5 million, while expenses total about 4.3, which resulted in this increase of about $685,000. Your ending net position at March 31st, 2023 was $13.3 million. Of that balance, about 5.5 is your net investment in capital assets. So these are the assets that the village owns less any related debt or accumulated depreciation. About 1.2 million is subject to external restrictions, and the remaining 6.5 is unrestricted to meet the future needs of the village. Your main operating fund, which is your general fund, did report a decrease of fund balance of about $327,000, or about 2.8% from last year. This resulted in an ending fund balance of about $11.5 million. The other bound document that you have in front of you is called the management letter. These are our recommendations of any policies, suggestions, or procedures that we may have from the audit process. A majority of the comments that we have this year are for new GASB pronouncements. So essentially GASB is our governing board that states the way that the financial statements are supposed to be presented, and from time to time they come out with new pronouncements that we are required to follow. So there are about 4 that are coming out in the next 2 years, so we did include those in your management letter just as an FYI for us to work with you to get those implemented as necessary. The other comments that I did want to mention that we had were a recommendation of a capital asset policy. So the way you value your assets as far as useful life, capitalization threshold, all of those kind of written in a formal policy to be passed by the board in the near future. And additionally, we did have a comment related to your TIF district fund going over budget. And so just something to consider within the budgeting process when you're coming up in the next couple of years. To take a look at your expected expenditures and what your budget really should be for the year. So with all that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on the financial report, the audit, the management letter.
Just a quick question, on page 67, talks about the police pension fund. The bottom line is the employer's net pension liability as a percentage of covered payroll. So why does that change so drastically in 2022? Is that part of GASB? Is that?
A lot of it is related to change in market value, change in allocation of those things. There's been a lot of market shifts from the last couple of years to this year, and just the way that investments have been moving year over year. Additionally, we've been seeing a lot of the pension funds moving into the consolidated pension fund as well, so that's kind of changed valuation as well. So that's really kind of the major reason why you guys would see that big shift. Up towards the top, you can definitely see those change of assumptions in 2022 to 2023. That definitely has a lot to do with your ending net pension liability.
And then just the number I always like to point out is our pension liability. Our percentage right now is up to 44.5%, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we're up from 22% a few years ago, so we're heading in the right direction. Any other questions from the board? If not, do we need a motion to accept it? Is that what it is?
Not necessarily,
Yeah,
but you could.
You can, it doesn't hurt.
okay. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the audit.
Motion.
Your second.
Second.
Moved by trustee Sluse, second by trustee Richards.
Trustee Hudson,
Yes.
trustee Richards,
Yes.
trustee Sandberg,
Yes.
trustee Sluse,
Yes.
trustee Sturba.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item F, discuss the village code on vehicle parking. So this just has to relate to, we have in our ordinance that there shouldn't be any parking from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. On the downtown streets. The history of this is we didn't want residents that live in the apartments in downtown taking up business parking spaces in front of their businesses. It hasn't really been enforced the last few years. but in anticipation that, you know, our downtown is going to see a renaissance, which I think it has already. You know, we've got some new businesses in there. I talked to the chief about possibly starting enforcing this with, you know, first would give out some informational notices to people, you know, to let them know that we're changing. We're not gonna give out tickets right away, but eventually, you know, hopefully get most of those cars off the street. So it is an ordinance already, so it's not like we have to pass anything, but I just want the board to be comfortable with that policy.
Yep. I don't have any issues with it.
I don't either.
All right, well then, we will direct the chief to go ahead and get started with that, okay? Great. Okay, item G, approve resolution waiving competitive bidding and authorizing acceptance of proposal from Jiff Paving for paving in southeast corner of Main Street and Railroad Street in the amount of $34,600. So, the genesis of this, since we're gonna be redoing, well, first of all, I should back up. Trustee Hudson has to recuse himself from this as he owns property in the downtown area. Since we're gonna be under construction next year in the downtown area, we thought we would offer another area of parking. We had talked about including this section in the whole context of the downtown remodel. This was not submitted for our grant originally, so it's kind of an extra that we added on afterwards. So we're not sure that we would be able to, you know, afford to do this section. We have to wait to see how the bids come in. So anyway, the thought was, well, if we just, you know, temporarily pave this area, it would allow for parking during construction. We talked to, you know, Troy and Robinson about designing a temporary spot there, and then it became, well, if we spend the money on paving, will we be able to, if we decide we want to redo Railroad Street there, we'll be able to use this asphalt, or will it have to be torn up? So, I don't know, Troy had some reservations about this. I think originally when we talked about this, he thought it was going to be a lot less than it was, as far as cost-wise. So anyway, Troy, why don't you make some comments on this?
Yeah, so I think the thought was to do some sort of paving here, temporary, but then, yeah, we talked about could it be used for Railroad Street if it was reconstructed as part of that, you know, the project next year. The hope was, because Gallagher's in town, they would give a, you know, a really good price on it because they're paving, but the price was not good. So I know you reached out to a couple others, the price is better, still not great because it's just a small job. So the other thing is you can't really reuse this because the road's not being reconstructed, so we can't get it at the elevation it needs to be if you just pave it now. So it'd be really hard to reuse without kind of modifying it next year. So I just wanted you to know that it's you're kind of paying for a temporary paved area. You won't really be able to use it when you do what you want to for the streetscape.
Thoughts?
We tar and chip it.
I mean, that's an option too.
Yeah, because like, cause we can use what, the MFT money for the tar and the chip part of it, could we? And then basically it'd just be labor. I know Bob's got a good relationship with the township and stuff, and they've helped with other roads.
Yeah.
Cause at least that way, if you're gonna tear it up, it ain't nothing to tear it up. It's
Right.
sort of chipped, and I mean, they'll last a long time being a parking lot, but at least at that point, you're not $34,000 worth, especially for a temporary fix, especially if it's not gonna work.
Right.
I hate to put the asphalt down and tear it back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was gonna work like we thought originally, but to spend that money to have it torn up is not a good idea.
It's good.
Agree with all that.
Bob, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's making his notes.
You're welcome.
I mean, even if we don't, tar and chip it, I mean, we could still use it for parking, you know.
Right,
It's not like people can't park there,
Tar and
so-
chip it and stripe it.
Yeah, right.
yeah,
So, all right, we'll look into that, so.
okay, sounds good.
Moving on, item H, approve resolution waiving competitive bidding and authorizing acceptance of proposal from Peatone Seal Coating for parking lot seal coating at northeast corner of East Crawford and North Railroad Street in the amount of $3,350. So this is kind of all the same, related, you know, we're looking for, giving people alternatives to park in the downtown area. That parking, I don't know if you guys have gone out there and looked at that, but the asphalt's in decent shape out there. I mean, it's not perfect, but for a temporary fix, you know, I talked to Bob about it and thought if you just seal coated and striped it, it'd provide, you know, 20 spots at least out there, so. Troy, did you wanna make any comment on that at all, or?
It is like temporary, it could last a few years, but just because the asphalt, it would need, you need some patching and it might hold a little bit of water. But as a temporary fix, it's kind of inexpensive to make it look nice for parking.
I know the north side had the bunch of holes.
Yeah, the north side's not real good.
No. No, but even if we don't even go up, like I said, that north side's the worst, I think there's still, like, we could probably get 20 parking spots in there.
I think we ought to just stripe it.
Okay, anybody else?
They just stripe it.
You know, that's,
Where is this exactly located?
North of the Public Works building, that blue building,
Across from
Across
Legion.
across from
Legion.
Legion.
you know, the rest of the Railroad Street parking lot.
Okay. So on the north side of the blue building.
Yeah.
But that's not in any plans to redo anything
No,
at all?
no, it was just an opportunity to, like you said, provide more parking.
So why not seal coat it and strip it and make it look a little nicer if it lasts however many years? Cause it's not something we're touching for years anyway.
Well, parts of it isn't that good a shape.
There's a lot of it not in good shape.
So it'd be a waste.
I mean, seal coating is just gonna, it's there to protect the asphalt, like from over what time, weather and stuff
Right.
like that. So I mean, if we were gonna do something, I'd rather do something there. I mean, like, you can tar and chip that section too and, you know, seal coat it a year after that and it'll last longer. You know, and that would be something more than just seal coating it. I mean, unless you can go ahead and get, I know the townships have a patcher, it's called a patcher. I mean, unless you go out there and do something with the hole, it's just gonna break up more and more. Especially because like the parking, if you're planning on people parking there, it's gonna be more traffic than what the seas now, except for during fish fries or something like that. So you don't know how long that asphalt will last.
So what would you recommend?
I would say either tar and chip it, patch it, or stripe it. I wouldn't try seal coating it and then, you know, in a year it not work. You know, it starts
So
falling apart and then.
Fix it in the areas that need to be fixed and then seal coat it? Possibly?
Yeah, possibly, yeah. As long as
Or,
areas can get
I mean,
fixed.
if we're just using it for temporary, you know, if you just wanna stripe it, I mean, that's just to give some people someplace to park.
I mean, if you put another layer of tar and chip over it and stripe it again, that's gonna add to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty much tar and chip anyway over there, isn't it, Nick?
I think it is.
Tar and chip. I thought.
Like, would you, I think we talked about that a while ago, or it's been like, what, 30 years or something they did that, or 40 years ago or something?
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, add that to your list, find out about tar and chip.
Tar and chip and stripe.
Okay? All right, moving on.
No.
Approve resolution waiving competitive bidding and authorizing acceptance of proposal from Freehill Asphalt Inc. for crack sealing at First Street from Corning to Wilson, Wilson Street from Railroad Tracks to West Street. Crawford Street from west to railroad tracks, and Meyer Glen subdivision on Wesley, Howard, and Hickory in the amount of $24,900. So this is in the budget. We did it last year. I believe, Bob, we used this company last year,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
And so the crack sealing is a way to extend the life of our roads. So it's something that we wanted to start up last year and, continue doing it. Just to, redoing roads is so expensive. If we can, get a couple more years out of a road. I don't know, Troy, you want to comment about crack sealing at all?
It's smart to do, it's preventative maintenance. It'll, like you said, make your roads last longer, it saves you money down the road. You kinda, if you have a plan, like Bob started, kinda having a plan, which streets to do, and picking them out strategically, it could really save you money.
Perfect.
And most of the time, you'll do pavement, the age can be 5 years and under. Nothing over 5 years you wanna, unless it's in really good condition. So,
It helps a lot.
Perfect. Can I get a motion to approve that? Would be resolution 23-R is it 16? Because we didn't do anything with the other two, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't get numbers.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by trustee Sluse, seconded by trustee Sturba.
Trustee Hudson,
Yes.
trustee Richards,
Yes.
trustee Sandberg,
yes.
trustee Sluse,
Yes.
trustee Sturba,
Yes.
All right. Moving on. Approve resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement for services between the Village of Peatone and GMT LLC for economic development, planning, and marketing services. So I'll give you a little background, and then Mr. Steinmarch is here today to answer any of your questions. So in the past, we used GMT. It wasn't that long ago, but I don't think anybody on the board was on the board at that time except myself. They were instrumental in forming our TIF districts and business development district, and also putting together the deal for the travel center with Mr. Patel. So there's been talk on and off about trying to get somebody in here to help us with economic development. Just the announcement of the battery plant really made me want to put this on the agenda for you guys to consider. I think that development is coming to the area, and we want some good development here in town, and I feel like if we don't have somebody talking for us, that it's just not gonna happen. Anyway, Jean, do you wanna come on up and introduce yourself and tell us what you do for us?
Sure. I'm glad you said that about not knowing which of the board members were on during my last term, because I didn't see any familiar faces, and I thought, man, I'm older than I thought I was. My name is Gene Steinmarch, and we've got a firm called GMT. T is pretty much retired, and it's Gene and a fellow named Michael Schofield, who's the president of the Chicago Southland Economic Development Corporation. I only say that so that you'll know we've got our finger pretty firmly on the pulse of grant money that's out there. And our first goal is always to bring in enough money so that you're getting a plus from us. You're not just paying us to do things. Though you don't know me, but I came up on the public side after I got out of college, and worked on the public side for several years, and then formed a development company and built buildings and developments for many years, until I sort of semi-retired back into this. The point of all that is that we speak what we call developer. We can talk to people, we know what they're trying to accomplish, and we certainly know what you're trying to accomplish. So we don't come to you with just a proposal for some new strip center or something. We come to you with a proposal for a way to get something done that we also will propose how to pay for it, or how we'll add to your tax base to pay for it and so forth. I think that battery factory is just an example of the things that are coming at you like a freight train down I-57. And I think we can take advantage of some of that. But we want to do so without changing the character of the community as well. I know what we're doing in some other towns is we did set up a business development district or a eating and drinking tax in the areas where we're taking advantage of the national franchises and then working either a TIF or a BDD to waterfall that money into the downtown where we can do shops and things that are more localized and things like that. That's been working for us very well. So that's what we do in a nutshell. Be happy to answer any questions. Peter asked me to make the proposal in such a way that it will extend to the next budget year so that you can certainly have a chance to review what we've done and if we're having any luck. But, and frankly, our proposals, we make them out that if you want to get rid of us, you can get rid of us anyway. So, I hope, I don't think you're going to want to get rid of us. Anything else?
Questions?
Do you have specific businesses in mind that would be a good fit for the east or west side of I-57?
Off the top of my head, no, I don't. Retail is really hard right now. So what we're gonna try to do is, I think, try to do something that can take advantage of, like I said, national franchises out there, people that are moving through the area and need to eat and drink and things like that. It's you know, when I first came in here, we had, the Big K was one of my customers, and they're out of business now.
Big R.
A big box.
Big R, right?
Big R, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, yeah. So, it's just really hard right now to do retail, but I think there are things that can be done. We've just gotta get back into that with regard to your demographics. Sounds like a bullshit answer, doesn't it? It's the truth, I'm sorry.
So do you have contacts in the retail businesses?
I do. I have contacts with several people who do shopping center development and who do retail development. I'm doing a small strip center right now with a brewery in Homewood. And I do a lot of business with a fellow named Dave Bossy who does larger shopping centers. They're just really hard right now. But if we could set up the right program, maybe we can get that done.
That's my question for you. Is do you have any other success stories you can share with us so we can just want to love up on you? I'm like, yes, we need you.
You can call, I work with a lot of communities in the area.
Okay.
And I can happily give you a list of all the mayors that you could call and talk to them about whether we've been successful there or not.
Okay.
I also represent a lot of private people right now. So I'm building a truck terminal and also I'm building a clinic in Sauk Village. I'm building a technical incubator in Matheson, and I'm building a 6,000 square foot office in Olympia Fields right now, besides the work that I do for various communities.
Thank you.
So it's just a matter of getting in here and spending the time to think about it, what will work here. I know what Peter's got in mind, which is because of this battery plant, they're talking crazy numbers of employees. And so somebody should be out here building employee housing. And then based on those rooftops, you get retail. But the reality is, I'm not sure employee housing is exactly and precisely what we want. We may want employee housing somewhere out there where we can then take advantage of those rooftops and build the retail in our community. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
You have very little social media presence.
Yeah, and we don't, I guess we're just too old for that or something, we don't do it. We work primarily by word of mouth, I guess.
Okay. Back to the retail business, have you considered like a destination business? We don't have the population in our town in order to do that, so what type of destination businesses would you
Are you
consider?
talking about an actual place where people would come for a draw?
Correct.
We did run a couple of those through here my first term through. One was the wedding facility. One, of course, is the hotel that'll be associated with the trucking facility and things like that. That's a good thought. I mean, like I
Because
said.
a lot of places in restaurants with, you know, a community of 4,400 around
Yeah.
there, they're not going to, you know, want to come here.
Well, we have to decide what the trade area is. People out here are used.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Do you know, you don't know what it is?
Well, yeah, I do, I think. For instance, I'm so old that I actually did the numbers. When I got out of college, I did the numbers for Lincoln Mall. The Lincoln Mall grew into a regional shopping center, served out its full life term as a mall, and is now destroyed, and, you know, I'm still here. But the point is, that's what I did. That's what I was trained to do, you know, when I went to the private side. People out here are used to using I-57 as an artery, the way, you know, people in the city might be used to using Western Avenue or Halsted.
Right.
Out here, you jump on I-57 rather than, for instance, LaGrange Road or something. So the trade area has a funny extension to it. And so it may reach beyond what you think as far as bringing people to a real restaurant, you know.
Right, but you don't know the number?
No, I don't
No.
know the number off the top of my head.
So you'd have to do you'd have to investigate our present situation as to what
Right.
type of businesses
Yeah,
and contacts.
I really like this town. I'm always telling Peter that. I like this town very much, and I like the way the downtown is headed. I like what Jim Williams did over there with the corner shop, and I see that new restaurant with the eating outside and things like that. That's the kind of thing I'd like to continue to do, as well as I'd like to take advantage of that exposure from the railroad. Now, I know they don't stop. It would be nice to have a quiet crossing, but there may be a way to do something with murals. What we did in Homewood at one point was, and you've probably been to Homewood, you've seen the Richard Haas murals all over the backs of the stores. We didn't have enough parking in the street to take care of all the stores we wanted to put on Ridge Road and Dixie Highway and so forth. So we wanted the back alleys to look like they were welcoming entrances. So we had Haas come in and paint murals back there to make them look like entrances. And they've got the largest collection of Haas murals now in the country. You just have to get involved and start doing things. People ask me, like you very specifically, well, what will you do exactly? I don't know exactly. You just start doing things and then something starts to work, you know. We might do some pop-ups in the fall. You know, something with regard to Oktoberfest. Maybe you're already doing that. I heard you say that someone just did a nice festival.
Right.
But things like that, these people that have the brew pub also have a connection with the lady who handles most of the pop-up marketing in Cook County. So it's just a matter of getting the right people to start finding us. That's the way I see it, anyway.
Other questions?
And like I say, you can always give me the Evo if you don't like what we're doing. Anything else?
I think so. Any discussion from the board?
This is in our budget.
It is not in our budget. This is something that we would have to eventually do a budget amendment to if we decided to do it. I had thought we would wait until next budget year to do it, but with the announcement of that battery plant, I just feel like we'd be missing the boat if we didn't do it sooner rather than later. You know, in the past, we had, when we had hired GMT, we were paying them $6,000 a month, and I asked Gene if there's any way we could do it for less to get started, and he wants to work with us, and so that's why it's, you know, $3,000 a month, so. So if you guys don't like them, we can, you know, cancel the contract anytime.
Would we be able to postpone this to the next meeting?
Okay, there's no rush.
And then would I be able to get, some contacts of people that you worked with to speak to?
Sure, absolutely. I'll give those to Amy.
Yep, perfect.
Okay.
That's fair.
I agree with
Gives
that.
us a little time to research.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Good, so do we need a motion to table, or does it?
Yeah, unless anyone objects, we can just put
Put
it back
it
in the next agenda.
Okay. Sounds good. Can you make it here next time, you think, Chief?
Sure.
Perfect. All right, moving on, item K, approve resolution adopting a capital planning and reporting policy. So, this was one of the, management, one of the suggestions in the management letter of our audit. We didn't have a formal capital planning and reporting policy. So, Anne Marie put together the one that's in your packet, and, so, any questions about that at all? It will just kind of bring us in compliance with what we should be doing.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by trustee Hudson, seconded by trustee Sluse.
Trustee Hudson,
Yes.
trustee Richards,
Yes?
trustee Sandberg,
Yes.
trustee Sluse,
Yes.
trustee Sturba.
Yes.
All right, brings us to questions of the press.
I have just one. So the school board this evening is presenting a motion, excuse me, that IDOT has several school bus stops that are considered hazardous. One of them happens to be located on 4th Street, of which there's no sidewalk. Is there any, and that was also a topic of discussion, I believe, in a building committee meeting as well. Is there any projected sort of future planning for a sidewalk extension along 4th? Runs straight to the daycare. There's no sidewalk, that it literally stops, I believe, at, where's that, South Street? The sidewalk stops at South and does not continue on to 4th.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something we can talk with Bob about. I mean, I wasn't aware of that, problem they were having with the bus stops.
It just popped up on the school board agenda, and I get to cover that one as well. And it turns out IDOT labeled several bus stops as hazardous.
Yep,
And so the school board had to present an agenda item motioning the approval of acknowledgement that those bus stops are hazardous. And one is being presented on 4th Street.
okay,
I noticed during the summer that Miss Nikki's, when they take the kids out for a walk, they have to, and obviously they walk down the sidewalk where it comes around all
Right.
morning before, then they have to take the street.
Yep.
That partial block of street.
Something to look into, and of course, I'll take an email response from you at your.
no, I mean, we love sidewalks, we love putting them in, it's just they're super expensive, and,
Yeah.
I mean, the more we hear from residents on, you know, we'd like, my goal is to have at least one sidewalk on either side of the street so that people can safely walk. It just bugs me that people use our streets as sidewalks, and, it's just a matter of time before somebody gets hurt, but, yeah, I mean, our goal is to have a sidewalk on, that people can use on either side of the street, so, that's one that, yeah, we'll definitely put on our list.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other correspondence, communications from the board? not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by trustee Sluse, second by trustee Sturba. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great.